Today, we're diving into a really incredible story about innovation, empathy, and the power of music. It's about how a couple of students saw a problem, a huge barrier that was keeping people from creating, and used their skills not just to solve it, but to build a bridge. This is the story of the One Guitar Project. So, let's start with a question. Have you ever actually imagined trying to play the guitar with only one hand? For most of us, it's just a thought experiment, right? But for millions of people, it's a reality that makes one of the world's most beloved instruments feel totally out of reach. So how do you even begin to tackle a challenge like that? Well, it all starts by understanding the real barrier.
To really get why their solution is so cool, we first have to wrap our heads around the size of the challenge. I mean, we all know music is this powerful thing, right? It's therapy, it builds confidence, it connects us. But what happens when the very design of an instrument stops someone from getting those benefits?
And this one number, 7%, really puts it all into perspective. In Brazil alone, that's the percentage of the population with some kind of motor disability. We're talking about millions of people who might find it incredibly difficult, if not impossible, to play a traditional two-handed instrument like a guitar.
So the key thing to realize here is that this isn't some niche problem. The way guitars are designed, while totally iconic, unintentionally walls off a huge group of people from the simple joy of just making music. And that is the exact barrier this project was designed to smash.
So, who took on this massive challenge? You might think it was some big tech company, but no. It was a couple of really dedicated students who were on a mission.
Meet Bruno Capi de Matos and Henrique Cavaleiro Bacchus. The whole project started at their technical school in Brazil. For their electronics course, they decided they didn't just want to build a gadget, they wanted to use what they were learning to solve a real human problem. Their goal was nothing less than socio-musical inclusion.
And that brings us to their amazing solution, a project they called One Guitar. Let's get into how this thing actually works. But first, before we dive into the nuts and bolts, it's really important to know that this project falls under a category called assistive technology. You know, this isn't about making a cool toy. It's about engineering a tool that truly empowers people, that gives them back a piece of independence, or lets them do something they love.
Okay, so the system is brilliantly simple in its concept. They split it into two parts. Over on the left, you've got the Rhythmic Device. Think of this as the hands. It's this cool little electromechanical unit with 7 tiny motors that physically strums and mutes the strings. And on the right, you have the control interface. That's the brain. It's a command center with a touchscreen and a foot pedal, letting the musician control everything wirelessly.
Now, I know this diagram might look a little intense, but this is the heart of the whole Rhythmic Device. This is the blueprint that turns a person's intention into actual music. See that little chip in the middle? That microcontroller is what tells each of those 7 motors exactly what to do and when to do it. It's how a simple tap on a screen becomes a perfectly timed chord.
But here's what makes this whole system truly special. That interface, it's so much more than just a remote control. They designed it to be a complete learning tool. Yeah, you can play in real time with the pedal, but you can also get help tuning the guitar, run through practice exercises with a metronome, look up chords in a visual dictionary, and even program your own custom rhythms. It's basically an instrument and a guitar teacher all rolled into one.
Of course, technology is only as good as its impact on real people. So the team did the most important thing they could. They put One Guitar to the test with the very community they designed it for.
Their first volunteer was a guy named Julio Azambuja Beck. He already played guitar even without part of his right arm, and his feedback was just wow. He said the device would have made his own learning journey so much easier and way less painful. I mean, that's a huge validation right there. And what's even cooler is that Julio's feedback led directly to a major upgrade. He suggested a way to mute the strings to get cleaner, more precise pauses in the music. And the team? They listened. They went back and added a whole 7th motor just for that purpose. That is a perfect example of designing with your users, not just for them. Then there was another volunteer, Rony Ricardo Moorbach. He'd lost movement in his arm from a stroke, but he remembered playing guitar when he was a kid. His reaction was just as inspiring. He saw the prototype and immediately recognized it as a way to reconnect with something he loved, a passion he thought was gone forever. So, as you can imagine, this incredible work did not go unnoticed. A project that blended this level of technical skill with so much heart, well, it started earning some serious recognition.
And in 2019, they hit the big time. One Guitar won first place in engineering at FEBRACE. which is this massive Brazilian science and engineering fair held at the University of São Paulo. That's pretty much one of the highest honors a student project can get in the entire country.
But wait, there's more. It didn't stop there. They also snagged second place at another major fair called MOSTRATEC, and even got an official commendation from their own city council. It was clear this project was making waves far beyond just the classroom walls.
So, when all is said and done, what's the lasting impact of one guitar? Why does a student project like this matter so much? Well, the legacy of one guitar is that it's just so much more than a modified instrument. It's proof of what students can accomplish. It's a masterclass in what we call empathy-driven engineering, where you solve a human need, not just a technical puzzle. It gives us a blueprint for low-cost, accessible technology, and more than anything, it's this beautiful, powerful demonstration of how we can use technology to bring people together through music.
And that really leaves us with one final thought. The students behind One Guitar saw a barrier, and they used technology and empathy to build a bridge over it. So the question for all of us is, what's the next barrier we're going to break down? Thanks for tuning in.